But I don't know What's happening, everybody? So we're gonna go over. Whew, that pepper getting me. Anyway, so we're gonna go over this calling all devs. Should be fun times. Ah, crap. Anyways, let's kick it off, shall we?
Welcome everybody.
Still hate the lighting.
Calling All Devs, our relatively new now weekly Q&A program where we take questions submitted by you, the Star Citizen backer, voted on by you, the Star Citizen backer, asked by me, the Star Citizen content manager, and posed to our developers, the Star Citizen developers. Yes, it's a joke I'm never going to get tired of. Let's just jump right into things, shall we? So for our first question, the first question voted on and submitted by backers, we are calling who is one of the people who's become a Calling All Devs All-Star, Mr. Chad McKinney here in our Los Angeles studio. Chad, how you doing, man?
Hey, man. Doing well.
Welcome back.
Good to be back.
All right, so we are starting off with you. We've got a question here. One of the most voted on questions in our February thread. We put up a new thread every single month. This rose to the top very quickly. Will persistence login? What? Oh wait, no. Okay. When will persistence log us into the same location where we logged out, like ships, outposts, stations, etc.?
Yeah. Okay. So this is a bug that actually we knew about before even going to Evocati. This actually did work at one point, but there were some changes. There's actually quite a few changes that happened to persistence and the way that we handle persistent data throughout the 3.0 release. And it was just one of those bugs that we knew about, clearly identified, had repros and everything for it. We just didn't have the time to dedicate to fix it. It was one of those things that we decided that it was okay to let slip for this particular release, and we are absolutely going to fix it for 3.1. We did release a follow-up patch in 3.0.1 that solved it in part. There was actually a large amount of persistent data regarding the player that wasn't getting sent to the game server whenever a player would log in. And it would make it to where there were certain persistent behaviors that wouldn't track across servers. That has been fixed, but it doesn't completely fix this particular issue. So we just need to actually dedicate the time to it to actually investigate it and fully kill it off. But yeah, this is something we've known about, and we're absolutely going to fix it for the next release.
All right, so just to clarify, it's actually not a feture we're waiting to implement. It's something that's supposed to be in now.
It's a bug that this doesn't happen. Both just like say you whatever signed out at Levski, you would expect you respawn in that Levski, but also the ship spawning feature, or logging off feature that we added in, that and certain ships you can log off in the middle of space and then actually re-log in and be back where you were in the middle of space. And so that is something that we worked on and was actually working. It was actually kind of a Rube Goldberg machine of persistent data, like, to get this thing to come together. And we actually had it working, but then it broke, unfortunately. But yeah, we'll get it working again.
One of the perils of running a live game environment in the middle of game development. I do want to add one more thing, just to cover your butt a little bit. You said it'll definitely be in for 3.1. I want to say that it is our intention to have it in. For
it is
3.1.
Definitely our intention to have it in for 3.1.
But just like we didn't let us stop 3.0 from going out, we're not going to let it stop.
That's
3.1.
right. We'll always identify what really has to be in the minimum viable product for the release. So if this ends up being cut, again, it's not because we didn't know about it or it slipped through the cracks. It's because we felt like there was some other more critical features that we needed to give attention to.
Always with the priorities. All right, Chad, thank you so much for your time. I'll let you get back to work.
Thanks, man.
All right, bye.
Bye.
All right, thank you so much for that. So for our next call, well,
Ah.
I'm not going to call anybody for this one. The next question that has been submitted by you guys, the backers, and voted on by you is actually, how are the mechanics for multiple character slots going to work? And I'm actually going to field that one myself for a couple of reasons. One, we run these things, we make these shows, Calling All Devs, Reverse the Verse, Around the Verse. We are doing this in the middle of active game development. One of the challenges of that is that in the middle of active game development, you are still developing things, and one of the things you're developing are the answers to these questions. Now, you'll see a lot of comments from Chris Roberts over the years on either 10 for the Chairman or Wingless Hangar or ATV, where he'll share ideas of how he wants that system to work. We've mentioned in the past that's a good use for multiple game packages. Basically, you know, every game package you have equates to a character slot, and of course, then the possibility of selling additional character slots. These are still things that we are open to exploring. But right now, there are no plans to implement a multiple character slot system in 2018. That's something that's a little further out on the schedule. So because it's a little further out on the schedule, we don't have the locked down answers for that system now. It's simply a matter of priorities. So yeah, so there's basically nobody for me to call on that one. I didn't want to ignore it. I didn't want to just skip over it. It's a good question. It comes up quite often. You guys submitted it and you voted it up, so I wanted to address it. This is just unfortunately
I think they've
the
actually
only
said that before.
answer that's available for this. So for our next call, we are going back to the UK for a question about scanning, and my favorite X-Wing compatriot, Mr. Will Maiden. Will, how you doing, man?
Hey Jared, how's it going?
That's doing well. I'm much better. I'm getting over pneumonia, turns out.
Oh, it was pneumonia. I sounded pretty
pneumonia.
rough before.
Yeah, no, I went to the doctor and it's like, hey, you know, I'm not getting over this. And he goes, oh, well, you got a bunch of fluid in your lung. And I'm like, he goes, but you're pretty much over it, over the pneumonia. I'm like, wait, I had pneumonia? It's like, yeah, you had pneumonia. Oh, well, I didn't.
How much fluid in my lungs? Excuse me?
That I didn't ask. I didn't think to ask that. Okay. So, your question from the backers this week.
Go.
Scanning mechanics. Are scanning mechanics beyond salvage in the works? So he doesn't want to know about scanning mechanics for salvage. He's like, yeah, there's going to be a sting for salvage. But he wants to know, beyond salvage, are scanning mechanics in the work? And if so, what patch are they planned for? A when question. A when question. They keep trying.
When questions to the left, please.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Beyond salvage, absolutely. Scanning it's in the process at the moment. We're getting the baseline of what scanning is. Kirk's team in LA are doing great work and just kind of getting that delivered. But if you don't want to know about how we scan other ships just in general,
that's good. Throw it in there. He says he doesn't want to know, but I want to hear.
Well, no, I mean, we've got salvage, but that's different to just normal scanning anyway. So we've got your normal scanning, which is see a ship. I don't know who that is. I'm going to see what's inside, kind of thing, which pirates will be using and which everyone will be using. So and we've got two kind of, all scanning is made up of two parts. We've got location and then we've got analysis. So you'll ping and you'll identify with the radar, something's over there and that's worth my interest. And so I'm going to go over there. And then when you get the thing that you want to know about, you'll scan it and you'll analyze it and you'll get a readout of what's inside. And so that's kind of the fundamental of how all scanning is going to be. You locate and you analyze. So for salvage, even though you don't want to know about it, for salvage, you will locate derelicts and you will scan it and you'll find out what metals it's made up of and how I can use this to strip it for parts. And then so other things we're looking at in the near future will be mining that's coming through. And so for mining, we will be locating deposits of resources. I want to go over there to break up these asteroids or that field or whatever. And then when you get there, you can analyze these rocks, analyze the ground, analyze the asteroids, and see, okay, this has got.
I don't know why it's not working
that
through
I
my
don't
router
need. There's
anymore,
too much waste in here. This is a thick vein of gold or something like that. So yeah, we'll again taking the same phrase, location and analysis, and that's
you're gonna run
that's
out
what we're
of
looking at. But I can't really say when that's
gold
coming through. But that's where our heads
eventually.
are at the moment with both salvage and mining.
Yeah, and just to tack on to the one question, I know we're having a little fun here. That's because the people who are developing these features and when they're not production, they're not responsible for the scheduling and stuff. They do their work and stuff. So it's one of those reasons when we have the thing that submit your questions that says don't specify for different people, for a different person, only ask one question per thing. It's the people that can tell us about a thing are usually not the people that can tell us the win of a thing. That's different departments.
No, unfortunately, no.
Yeah, so the thing that you want to know more about is how it's going to work anyway, because the answer to almost every one question is when it's ready.
Yeah,
so.
But yeah, that's where these
Hey,
would be the
Straffrog,
first
what's up, man?
implementations of the system. So
Yes. All right.
Just watching some
I'll let you get
Star
back to work.
Citizen
Nice one. Take it easy, mate.
devs in the moment.
All
Talking
right,
about
thank you
things,
so much, Will
stuff.
Maiden. For our next question, we've got our ship shape show, and we do ship information there. But people keep submitting questions for calling all devs, and you guys keep voting it. So we're gonna take a question for this. And for this one, I am calling good friend Kirk Tomei here in our Los Angeles studio. Kirk, how you doing, my friend?
Oh, hey, Jared. How's it going? Good.
Good. Thank you for taking the time to be on the show again.
Sure, no problem.
Got a question for you.
He didn't look like he was ready for the show.
They voted it. I'm posing it to
Like,
you.
oh crap! I forgot about
The
you.
question is simply, any news at all about the Banu Merchantman?
The Merchantman. So,
Hell yeah, I've
so
got one
a
of
little
those.
bit of bad news in that it's unfortunately not on the active ship development schedule for 2018.
Aw.
Last year, we did commission an external artist to do some concept art for us, which was delivered and we approved. We're just under-resourced at the moment to be able to move it into the 2018 schedule. So as soon as we get those resources freed up, we'll begin to schedule working on it and get it released to the community as soon as we can. I'm sure that when we do get those resources and freed up and start working on that, you'll definitely inform the community about when that's available.
Yes, be sure the very first ship shape when this happens will be me running around the camera like, it's happening!
So obviously we're working on as many ships as we can at the moment, and we're just booked up. And since so many resources are required to get ships in the game, we just have everyone working at 100% capacity.
I do want to follow up on that. You mentioned that we did do some outsource concept work last year. We've actually shown those images. You saw those images on Around the Verse last year when we did features on the Banu and the Banu Defender. We wanted to flesh out more of the Banu style guide when developing the Defender. So you guys have seen everything that exists for the Banu Merchantman at this time. So like Kirk said, when it's time on the development wheel comes up, you can be darn certain that I'll be right there on a ship shape telling you guys. So thank you so much, Kirk. Thank you for your time.
Sure, no problem.
All right, take care. Okay, and so for our last question of the show this week, we have a question here that's perfect for one of our community managers, actually. So I'm going to call lead community manager out of our Austin, Texas studio, Mr. Tyler Wicken. Tyler, hey, are you playing with your reclaimer?
Sorry. Hi. Hey, Jared. Good to see you.
Every time I call, you're playing with that flippin' reclaimer.
I'm sorry.
I know, it's cooler than anything I have in the entire fan cave.
I mean, I'm not purposely putting it in the frame to show that off to you or anything.
It is so cool. It is so cool. And of course, the reclaimer coming in. So,
Nice plug. Nice plug.
Nice plug.
I'm a shill. All right, so I have a question.
Yeah,
for
someone
you
was asking
from
about
the
that last
backers,
night, so
voted up
that's
on
good to
Spectrum.
have them
Your question
reiterate.
for this week is,
Coming in 3-1, y'all.
Why do I have to go to Reddit?
It's probably
to
coming
Twitter,
in
to
3-1.
Facebook to find official information that should have been posted on Spectrum?
Okay, that's a good question. I'm surprised it wasn't about the Carrack in one way or another, but let's
Also, tell me about the Carrack. It's there.
Yeah, I was waiting for that bit. Okay, so that's a really good question. So one of the things we like to do with our communication style is to be adaptive to some degree. So what that means is, while Spectrum has a lot of good information, announcements, Ask a Dev, or even frequently developers hanging out in the live chats, discussing mechanics or accepting the latest feedback, we also work to provide information on a variety of other platforms that our community uses as well. Now, the reason we do this is because everybody absorbs information in different ways. While one person may prefer a text post, another prefers a video, and another may prefer something more interactive, like a live stream. So what we try to do is utilize all the tools that we have in our belt to be as accommodating as possible for everyone in our community. And so what this allows is actually some really cool things, like
virtual cyber tool
getting to
belt.
send developers to community-ran events like BritizenCon, Bar Citizens, getting to do a cool article in a magazine, just to really, reach everyone in our community in a variety. Oh, I just dropped the Buccaneer off the Reclaimer. He was in the middle of salvaging it. Here, hold that. Anyways, so yeah, we can do a lot of cool things. Like, for example, a lot of our developers will take the time to actually go on our community's podcasts and videos. And so, yeah, I mean, that's really what it comes down to is it's not that we don't use Spectrum. It's not that we don't use Facebook or Twitter. It's that we try to use a variety of ways to communicate. For example, a number of shows like this one. So information is everywhere, and we try to be accommodating.
And that is why there's people like Board and others that do really well.
Was presented elsewhere, either in one
just
of our videos or
kind
on
of
Spectrum post, and
consolidating all that and putting it out there for
you.
y'all.
Many people in as many different platforms.
Because it's actually in too many places now.
Very well over the last couple of years, so.
Yeah.
You would think though that if they're gonna put it in one place, they should just put it all.
On Spectrum, talk to Matt Sherman, Phantom of Spectrum.
I was about to say, I mean, that's who comes to mind when as soon as you think about Spectrum chat.
Living up in the rafters of Spectrum, waiting for somebody to say something, and then rappelling down and saying, here's the information.
And it's funny you mentioned information coming from Reddit. Well, we're not actively posting information on Reddit. A lot of the information that you may see on Reddit comes from places like our videos, our streams, Matt Sherman, on Spectrum. So yeah.
That's also true.
About I posted on Spectrum, but the blow up before it happened on Reddit. So our community is such an important part of disseminating our message. And a lot of the stuff gets repurposed to all this thing. So we use everything.
Somebody probably got crap for that. Well, why did you post in a place where it's all popular on Reddit? Why didn't you do it in our tool?
It served us so well.
I did. I promise.
About people showing up on podcasts. I understand that you're working on something to help facilitate that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's a good idea. I think now's a good time. So in the past, we've had opportunities given to our developers and to CIG staff to appear on various YouTube videos or live streams for members of our community. Now, as our community continues to grow, so does the need for us to streamline this process. And so this is actually really exciting. So in the past, the way it's worked is people from our community would, tweet at us or send in a support ticket or try whichever avenue they could possibly get through to see if they could get somebody from CIG to appear on their show. And what we've realized is that we love that we're getting invited to do these things. We want to do them more, so we're going to help facilitate an organized process to do just that. So coming soon,
cool.
TM, to the website is something we've been working on, which is an invite a developer form. And what this basically is an opportunity for you to fill out a form that says, hey, what's the name of your show? What are you guys all about? What's your scheduling like? Because obviously scheduling is super important. Our goal is for this process to not impact the game's development in any way. So much so that a lot of our developers are going to be doing this in their free time after hours just because they want to, which is really cool. But in this forum, you'll also be able to request things like, let's say that your live stream is going to be all about environment Dart or procedural planet technology. Well, you can actually put in the type of discipline that you're hoping to get from CIG to appear on your show, and we'll take that into consideration. Now, of course, as a disclaimer, I have to say there's no guarantee that we're going to be able to accommodate every single request that comes in. But I will say that our goal is more accommodating than we were before. This is going to help us by taking all the information, all the invitations, all the requests, being able to put it in one place for us to really evaluate how much can we do, how frequently can we do it, and for us just to make this process better so that we can get more involved and be more engaged with all of you.
Yes, thank you for putting that disclaimer in there. Of course, always the highest priority has to be their work on the game.
Absolutely.
Like that. But no, I think it'll be a good step towards towards reaching even more communication platforms than we currently do. So
yeah.
All right, man. Thank you. Push the reclaimer back away from the edge of the desk. I've watched you almost hit it like 4 times in the middle of this conversation. Or you could just send it to me. You can send it to me, and I will take care of it. I would take very good care of it.
Jared, I'm sorry, I can't hear you over the sound of my reclaimer.
All right.
Thanks for having me, Jared.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, and with that, that wraps up another episode of Calling All Devs.
That
hope you
was
enjoyed it.
mostly
Remember,
boring.
you can submit
There's a
your
couple of cool
questions
things for me as a
considerations
streamer in
each
there.
and every week.
Hey,
in the
Mr.
thread of
Streamer.
Spectrum, and don't forget to vote. That is the 2-pronged process. I say this every week. You got to submit the questions, and you got to vote on the questions, and then I'll find the developers that are available to answer. You know that. Which let me add that there. If people are like, hey, you skipped that question, you know, it's all the way up at the top. There's not always a developer that's available to answer the question. It's a mix of things. I do my best, obviously. Just like with today's show, with the question about the character slots. There wasn't a developer for that right now because it's not in active development. So I did my best not to avoid it.
Yeah, that's valid. It's like, I can't find anybody because that's probably 2 years out.
This week, put it off for another week.
I think actually the last time I talked about it.
To that question, it's always a shell game of priorities.
I get it.
Calling All Devs. I'm content manager for global video production here at Huckabee, and we'll see you next week.
Anyways, yeah, they were talking about how it's probably
so if you want to keep up with the latest and
going to be at
greatest
the end of
stuff
the game, most likely.
please follow us on our social media channel.
So
See you soon.
that's not surprising that there's nobody even closely, actively even thinking about it at the moment. It's probably 2 years out. But cool. Alright, where's my... I go here, hit Z buttons, and then we'll do a roll-up summary. Yeah, that one. Perfect. I need to do like board and be like all fancy and have some like cool gameplay in the background. Maybe that'll be my next project. Green screen's kind of behaving today. It's still, my lighting sucks. Curses to the skylight above me right now that's shining directly on my face and making me all fuzzy. But yeah, so we learned that for sure 3.1 the Reclaimer's coming out, which is awesome as a reclaimer owner myself. And mining is coming, scanning is coming. We've learned what else? The slots aren't coming because everybody knew that, but okay. And streamers can now add devs if they ask enough, probably in the right channels, which is cool. And what else? I think there was something dark side. Crap, what was the beginning of the show? I need more coffee.
That has been fixed, but it doesn't.
Persistence, that's right. So Persistence will be back event here in the not so distant future. Cool. I think that's it. Oh, and that he had pneumonia, which that sucks. Alrighty, well, thanks y'all. Not looking like I'm out of time today to do any actual gameplay. So we'll be back probably tomorrow night. We'll see. I'm actually flying out of town for the next couple days again. It's been crazy. Like, just insanely crazy lately, schedule-wise. So let's just hope that it calms down a little. that would be great. Other than that, yeah. Cheers, y'all.